Welcome back, everyone, to Light Talk, where everyday people can share their spiritual journey experiences. If you would like to be a guest on the show, email lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on your like, share, and subscribe buttons. Well, we're going to get started today. We've got an awesome guest. Her name is Miriam Rachel. And welcome to the show, Miriam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. I thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll kick in on our stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I am, boy, where do I start? Okay. Well, I am a tarot reader. I've been doing that work for over 15 years. I'm also a psychic medium and I'm an author and freelance writer. And what got me into my journey? Well, I've always been the sensitive type. I've always been intuitive. And of course, that caused a lot of trauma in my childhood, bullying and scapegoating and all that. So unfortunately, I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I fell into pathological people pleasing because I was so desperate for people to accept me and like me. And that only that only just made things a lot worse until I encountered a catalyst that literally got me out of it because it was a matter of life or death if I didn't. So it's not like one day I woke up and said, "Wow, I'm no longer a pathological people pleaser." The other term for that is echoism, um, which is at the opposite spectrum of pathological narcissism. It's a spectrum, right? So anyway, over time, I was shedding that. I was starting to develop my boundaries. I was starting to care a lot less about who liked me and who didn't because being real is everything. And I actually wrote a book recently called Overcoming Echoism with using tarot because you actually can use tarot for self-reflection, not just divination. And I actually found ways to do some self-reflection work, shadow work, to help you understand why boundary setting is difficult for you, why it's hard to say no sometimes when you really want to say no, and just all that fun stuff. So that's my thing. But I also happen to be very, very into past lives. I've had several past life regressions, and my goodness, I could just go on forever about them.
Well, we might be able to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I am working kind of on my shadow work too.
Mhm.
So I'm in the midst of trying to work with that. So maybe a little tip or two on that. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and start. How did you get through with your tarot on your tough times? How did the tarots help you?
Well, the thing is that even though I was starting to get into it, there were times when it was so bad I just had to literally put it on hold. But once that catalyst happened and all the burdens that I was going undergoing ended, I was starting to get into it a lot more. So when I say over 15 years, I don't mean 15 years straight. It was on and off, but over the last 5, 6 years, it's been pretty constant, right? So just doing a lot of work with it. You can use tarot for so many things, not just divination. You can use it for self-reflection, as I said, promoting creativity, helping with decision making. So I'm going to create some programs that have to do with that as well. So there's just so much to do on the pipeline. But also you can use tarot to even do some past life work. It's pretty cool. You can do so much with it. It's not just one thing that you can do. It's so versatile.
Wow, I haven't heard that you could do past life with it.
Yeah, you
That's
can.
interesting.
Yeah, there are several spreads that you can do. But let me tell you, just some of the things that I discovered, not through the tarot, but through past life regression hip I've been to past life regressionists. I went actually last summer and just made some incredible discoveries which didn't really surprise me. I kind of knew some of this anyway, but it was just basically confirmed.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a great feeling when I can get something confirmed.
It
It
definitely is. You
feels
sort
good.
of have you have suspicions. You definitely have suspicions, but at the same time, once you have that past life regression and you're in there, it's like, wow, I knew it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Hmm.
So you had some karma that you had to work through to get to where you're at.
Oh yeah. Well, that too. That too. And I believe there's I mean the thing is, karma, those who that have difficult lives, yes, there's karma there, but they also choose to evolve through other lessons. You know what? Life is just not meant to be easy. If you're coasting by, then there's something wrong, right? Now I'm going to be absolutely, I'm going to be frank here. There's a lot of mediums that gaslight trauma victims, telling them that they plan their traumas before incarnation. And I'm going to tell you right now that is not the case. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I believe happens instead. There's a risk. There's a risk, and you know there's a risk. And I believe too that if you knew what the soul plans before incarnating, you'd be absolutely horrified because your ego just can't do it. It just can't.
So you would be
um,
on edge all the time
yeah.
because you
So
knew something was coming.
yeah, absolutely. I had some suspicions, and unfortunately, I was right about certain things. Um, but here's the thing: while you want to evolve and plan all these things, or put yourself at risk rather for all these things, you have spirit guides that are working with you, and they know exactly what the ego is like, and they say, are you sure you want to do this? We don't think it's a good idea, or else you're going to make an early exit, because let's face it, those a lot of those who unalive themselves just do it for because they took on too much, right?
Yeah.
Or even if they don't, they're not able to function, like severe mental illness, CPTSD, like that can really mess you up.
Yeah.
So but it's just you would be horrified. um But the reason I say you don't plan your traumas is because, especially when it comes to abuse by others, that's the misuse of their free will. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing. If you do have soul contracts with those who you've banked up some negative karma with, there's a risk. They know that you did something, or, they see you as prey. So that's a risk. I mean, the way I compare it, this is the way I compare it, right? I'm not into sports or anything. Like I'm not just not my thing, but I always think of a football match. Okay.
Okay.
You've got team A and you got team B. They they know that they're going, team A knows it's got to conquer team B. That's the plan. But but here's the thing, you've got the team members on team A as like soulmates, same thing, those who support you. But then you've got those on team B that are basically, there's karmic soul contracts, which aren't always going to be nice. But here's the thing though, when they're both at it, no one's going to predict that someone on team B is going to knock out someone on team A's teeth. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That's what I mean. That kind of stuff, that's free will, misuse of free will. See?
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, the best way to describe it because it can confuse a lot of people. Like you're saying that you don't plan your trauma, but yet you say that there's a lot of challenges you plan. Well, yeah, I know it sounds contradictory, but this is really, you're going to be up for a challenge. There's risks. I mean, the thing is, when you're playing a sport like football, there's a risk of getting injured. Like, that, right?
Right. Right.
So it's the same kind of thing. It's a risk. Even though you don't plan to get injured, it's a risk. So, I mean, but I mean, the thing is, it just makes me sick when I see these so-called mediums saying, you're not a victim. You planned it. No, you did not. You did
Yeah.
not. You may have put up put you may have agreed to balance karma and evolve a lot and put you at risk, but you don't plan. You don't plan like these horrible things that others do to you. You don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because they're a different soul. They have their own free will to be going
Yeah.
through to fix their karma or
Yeah.
everything. So you don't know what they're, yeah.
And you unfortunately, if there's karma there between you both, you could end up getting caught in the crossfire because of their misuse of free will. They could sense that there's karma between you, but you don't know how they're going to handle it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's a good way to put it. It'll
Mhm.
make you think kind of the combination of the two, putting into the team, the
Yep.
conflict like that. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's funny because I'm not really into any of that stuff, but I thought that was actually one of the best ways, the best analogies to help
Yeah.
people understand what I'm talking about so I don't look like I'm contradicting myself, right? Because that's yeah. Yeah, you do plan to have challenges, but you don't know what kind of challenges are going to come up. That's going to be, based on free will of yourself and based on the free will of others, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you also had some dream premonitions.
Oh my goodness. Yes. 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 There's one that I will always remember. So, um, my husband and I went through some very mild infertility. I have PCO and he also has some fertility issues. So, we were, of course, getting very discouraged because we had a lot of disappointments. You know what? It was really awful during the time, but looking back, ours was mild. It didn't take that long. We didn't have to resort to IVF. It didn't take that long. So anyway, we ended up using IUI, intrauterine insemination. So so the first time didn't work. But then the second time was just, oh my goodness. Now this is very strange too because um, I had to get ultrasounds and I had to get blood work done every day during which they call the follicular cycle, where the follicles are maturing. So I had two that were growing, and just the nurse said to me, just because they were both maturing, and the nurse said to me, okay, tomorrow I want you to stay behind. Didn't give me a reason, didn't give me an explanation. Like, okay, just said tomorrow, stay behind. So the next day, I did. And it looked like one was very mature. And that's all I knew. And then I did stay behind. So I went to the office, and then the nurse said, one of your follicles released, and it was the small one. And I'm like, what? Doesn't make sense. I didn't have a luteinizing hormone surge. That doesn't make sense. She goes, yeah, I know. So I'm like, okay, well, my husband better get here. We better do it. So anyway, I called him at work. He just had gotten a new job and he was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting. I thought that it was going to happen like during the weekend. It was a few days before that. I'm like, no, you got to come here now because this is what they're telling you to do. So he rushed over and he ended up not getting too personal, but I'll just say he ended up he was so stressed from all of it, he gave a very poor sample.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, whatever, we'll work with what you have. It was to the point where they weren't even confident that they had anything to work with, but hey, we had to do it anyway. And then we did it the next day just for, the day after just for reaffirming it, right? So anyway, I basically was thinking, okay, this is probably going to be another wasted cycle. Like, I was just thinking this is just going to be a waste. But then what happened was, like, this was going to be a long 2 weeks because, that's how it is. But a week after, I had one of the strangest dreams. It was a message. I dreamt that I went into this mansion. Okay, this mansion had cherry wood furnishings, and the carpeting had a mix of purple and green patterns, and the walls were green.
Must have
So
been in the 70s, 60s.
might have been, I don't know. But then I go into the office. There was an office, and then the office chair was facing, the back of me, right? And
Okay.
then the chair turns around. My grandmother, who passed in 1998, looked and winked at me. And I'm like, wow, it was nice to see, I'm like, nice to see you again. I was very close. I was very close to her. So then I found myself in the bathroom of the mansion, and it was green. And there was a baby standing. It was so weird. There was a baby standing there, and then on top of the um on the wall was the number 17, and 17 is, the star tarot card, right? The 17th card. It's a number that represents hope and all that, aspirations. So I kind of knew that at the time, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So then my husband and I used to go through this coupon book, and we decided to try a restaurant that we've never tried before. It's like, okay, well, this looks interesting. Yeah, okay, the menu looked interesting. Let's try it. And it was not even close to where we live. I go to the restaurant. The restaurant was identical to the mansion. I was flipping out.
No
But
way.
yeah, the tables were the same cherry wood. The carpeting was that purple green identical pattern. I'm
Oh,
serious. The walls were, I was flipping. I was just repeating myself. I can't believe it. This is the this is what the mansion in the dream looked like. So that's just so weird.
wow.
And then okay, the food was good, but that wasn't it. That I didn't care about that. I was just so wowed. Like, oh my God. A week later, I was late. hmm And I went to a wedding. I went to a wedding, then, weekend after that. I didn't I didn't drink any champagne because even though I was afraid to get hopeful, I knew. I knew. And blood work confirmed. Yep. And my beautiful daughter, is almost 22 years old now.
Oh,
Thank you.
congratulations. Yeah,
Thank
my
you.
my son is 22 and it took us a bit with him too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, this kind of comes into play.
hmm
I had a miscarriage
hmm
and oh, maybe 6 months to a year ago, I was kind of asking, I'd like to see you, because I did find out we had a girl. It was too early for us to find out at the time,
hmm
and I found out we had a girl, and found out that well, my son was like, oh well, we gotta name her. I was like, well, why didn't I ever think of that? I'm like, how dare I? Poor bad mom, right?
hmm
But he came up with a name. My son came up with a name for his sister, and
Oh.
yeah, it was kind of cool. And then I got to doing my pendulum and found out she didn't like that. She didn't like the name, so
Oh.
she says her name is Monica.
hmm
And so about 6 months or so ago, I was asking Monica to show herself so I could see what she looks like. And she finally did.
Oh.
Yeah, she was in her teens and long brown hair and everything. She was so cute.
Oh, wow. Mm.
So yeah, it was
Mm.
it was neat, just kind of the comparison of seeing her. It was really cool.
That is interesting. Wow. So how did you feel when you saw her?
I knew it was her. I
Hmm.
knew it was her. I knew she just had that look, like I,
Yeah.
hi mom, kind of thing, and it just felt so good. I saw, it's like now I can say, I saw her. I know we have a girl. I know what she looks like a bit now, you know.
Yeah.
So it just felt really nice to just have that confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? That sounds pretty incredible. So, Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I mean it's just so you can't explain these things. You can't. And I
Mm,
mean the thing is there's a lot of naysayers like, well, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, but the thing is, how is it a coincidence? Like that's pretty much of a wild coincidence where I dream about that mansion and then I go to a restaurant I've never been to before. We just randomly chose that restaurant to go to and it looked identical.
yeah.
How do you explain that? It's a message. It was a message from my grandmother saying, your wish is coming.
Yeah. And was
Mhm.
there a number 17 at the restaurant?
I don't remember that. No, I don't remember that. But I do know that the number 17 represents hope. That much I know. So,
Okay. That'd
yeah.
been interesting if your bill came up to be like 17 something, you know?
That would have been interesting. I don't know if I'm not sure what the amount was that I can't remember. All I can tell you is that it would be plenty more expensive nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even
Everything
think
is.
it probably doesn't even exist anymore, that place, but who knows? Because a lot of restaurants just go out of business anyway. But
Could have
yeah,
been there just for you.
yeah, might have been, never know.
Yeah, never know.
Just for that message, just we never went there again after. So, and I don't know why. It was just kind of forgot about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean the thing is that with the karma in my case, I was the unfavored child, the scapegoat, just the odd one out. But I know in a previous life, I basically had the upper hand with that. I was the favored child, and I was I was pretty much a bully myself, and then here I am being bullied. And again, I don't believe I planned to be bullied, but I know it was a risk because I was, having to face that karma, right?
Right.
And I actually found out that I do have some pretty heavy karma with my worst high school bully. Um, you know what? I basically practice indifference. I'm working on just being indifferent. I think it's a big ask to forgive those who don't show any accountability. I know they say that, well, it's for you, not I don't believe that. You know what I mean? I guess we all have our own beliefs about it. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Back back in the day when I was a lot more immature and not as grown, I did pull some pretty clever vengeful tactics towards her that could have gotten actually she did call the cops on me, but anyway, that's another story altogether. I'll be honest, I don't regret what I did, but the only reason for that is because I didn't know how to handle the time. Does it mean I would do it again? Oh no, never. I'm way past that. I'm just no, but I don't regret what I did, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be kind of fight back a bit
Yeah,
in order for them to stop, and maybe that helps them out on their karma,
it's
for you
possible.
fighting them
It's
back.
It's hard to say. I know that based on the things I know, she pretty much, I mean, I can't diagnose anyone because I'm not really in a position to do that, but I'll just say based on the things I've heard and based on the things I've seen her put out, she really does scream narcissism, and I bet anything that a lot of these bullies that don't show any accountability are likely psychopaths or narcissists, clinical narcissists today. I bet anything. The ones, I'm not saying all of them were, the ones who aren't would obviously feel bad for what they did. They were just probably, peer pressure, and I get peer pressure is a real thing, right? So they're the ones that would say, I'm really sorry for what I did. Okay, no, that's fine. No problem. But the ones who think they're still in the right, don't show any accountability or, don't aren't exactly sorry for what they did, for sure there's narcissism there. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty big now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty common now for a lot of people to have the narcissist now.
Well, I believe that it's something that people really didn't know much about before. Now, is the term overused? I think it can be because the fact of the matter is that just because you may not like someone doesn't necessarily mean they're a narcissist. Someone may be kind of high on themselves, someone may brag of it, but that doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist just because they weren't nice to you, doesn't make them a narcissist either, because maybe they just handled it poorly. But in this particular individual's case, I've heard other people coming to me because after I pulled that vengeful tactic, it was pretty much known, and people were saying, you know what, she did that to me too. It was like, wow, I didn't know that.
No.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, and that's tough. That's tough
Yeah.
to have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty hard. So let's kind of switch the subject a little bit here. You
Sure.
have a puppy named Brady.
Oh yes. Well, we did. I love him. I will always miss him. We had to put him down in December 2022 because, well, he was sadly ailing from cancer. He was 14. But yeah, so that's another thing. Brady. So my husband and I had a miniature schnauzer that we got in 2000. We named him Brady because I thought that was kind of a cool name. I got it from a soap opera. I don't know. Sadly, he was a sick dog from the start, and he didn't even make it to his 8th birthday. Like, just, you know, it just started because he ended up with bladder stones when he was a year old, and then he was put on a very high carb food that caused pancreatitis, and he became diabetic, and then just things went downhill from there. So anyway, I was totally fine without a dog, but my husband was gonna mope around, right? He was gonna mope around. So I agreed. I said, you know what? Fine. We'll get a dog, but I'm not gonna go through the housebreaking stage again. He said, okay. So I wanted to get a Bichon Frise because they are adorable. My parents have one, and they had another one back then as well. So I said, I want to get a Bichon Frise. We'll look for one that's already housebroken, a little older. So anyway, we were looking around. We didn't really have much luck. And then we were, told that somebody was selling older puppies. It wasn't a Bichon, it was a Coton Tullier. They're different. They're very similar to Bichon. So anyway, we ended up picking one. We were going to pick one up. And then the day before we picked that dog up, we went to get all like the dog apparatus. And then that day, it was very, very strange. There were 3 incidents where people were calling out to their dog, Brady. And I'm like, this is very strange. We were not going to name that dog Brady. We were actually going to name him Spencer. And we passed by a couple that was walking their dog. I don't know what kind, I can't remember what kind of dog it was, but I'm like, oh, it's a cute dog. What's his name? Brady. Like, what the hell? This is like the third time today. All right. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense because why are we hearing the name Brady over and over again while we're about to get Spencer? All right. So we went to pick up Spencer, and we can tell right away that he was not a fit. Okay. He was showing aggression towards the kids. He was, he was unhappy. He ended up curling up in the sofa, like really depressed. I'm like, the energy just felt very off. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is not going to be our dog. So we sadly had to return him because it wasn't a fit. Nobody was happy. He wasn't happy. Like, it was
Yeah.
just not a fit. So they took him back, no problem. I'm sure he was adopted out to someone who was appropriate for him. So we just kept looking and looking. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, we found an online ad, and then we found, 5.5-month-old Bichon, housebroken puppy. Perfect. I mean, we wanted a dog that was young enough to spend a lot of time with, but
Right.
we didn't want to go through the housebreaking stage. So then we called the owner of that dog that had to sell him because they just weren't able to handle based on the workload that they had. They had like twin babies. So they were basically admitted that they made a rash move by getting a dog. So they're saying, we love him, but at the same time, we can't keep him. And I'm like, okay, what's his name? Brady. And I'm like, no way. And I don't know. I can't remember what ended up happening, but the day later, he called me back and he says, you know what? He says, I got about 15 other inquiries, but I want you to take him. And we did. and we had, let me see here, my math is so bad. Well, I'll just say we had almost 14 years with Brady. Almost 14 years with him. I mean, he was a great dog. He really was. He really felt like he belonged. He was great, and I miss him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We lost our previous dog, and when we went to look at our current pup, we saw eyes. Her and I clicked eyes, and it was locked. It was like, this is
Oh,
it. And that's that. I'm not leaving without this dog, kind of thing. And but it was adoption, so we had to go through the process.
right.
And we were about maybe a mile or two away from the house, and in my head, I heard the name Dipsy.
Oh,
And I'm like, no, it can't be. I go, Dipsy Doodle. And I was telling my husband, Dipsy Doodle's her name. And he's like, we don't even have her yet. Wait until at least we get her. We know we have her. It's like, no, she's ours. And she's coming home with us Saturday. And her name is Dipsy Doodle.
oh, that is so
So
cute.
now we have Dipsy Doodle.
Aw.
And once in a while, she tries to come in and talk to me while I'm doing a podcast. So maybe
Oh,
sometime you
wow.
might see her nose pop in.
Oh, how sweet is that?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Well,
she's
there,
precious.
I bet. I
Yeah,
bet. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And real quick, like, because we're running out of time. And when we had Dipsy outside in the snow, I was getting some video of her, and I believe it was our previous dog.
mm-hmm.
She was a Sheltie, and she came in an orb and followed
Oh,
our little Dipsy around for about 45 seconds.
oh,
This huge orb just followed her around the yard. It was so cool.
I bet it was. I bet it was. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was really cool. Well, our time is up
Mm.
already. It went so
Wow.
fast.
That was so much fun. Yeah.
It's so
Wow.
much fun.
So
So
much to
much fun.
talk about.
Yes, yes, I could talk forever. I think
I
everybody's
know.
kind of know that by now. But well, thank you, Miriam, for being with us today. And I
Thank you.
had such a blast talking with you. And
Yeah, same here. It
be
was
great to
great.
hear some more from you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. There's always going to be something. There's going to
Yeah.
be something. So,
All right. Well, all the listeners out there, if you have stories or you know someone that has stories, contact me. Let's get you on the show. Let's hear more stories. So if you do, give us an email at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on that like, share, and subscribe buttons. So we'll see you later. Bye,
bye.
everyone. Till next time.